Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session looking at 4 plays in one by Nathan Field and John Fletcher, or is it John Fletcher and Nathan Field? We shall see. Bits are written by one, bits are written by the other, yeah, we have 4 plays and 2 playwrights who write 2 plays each, plus the framing device, which I think is primarily by Nathan Field. So yeah, if you are thinking that portmanteau storytelling films were in some way original and new to the 20th century, you'd be entirely wrong. It was a form that existed hundreds of years prior to that, and was in fact wholly unoriginal. So we have the joy of being able to discuss the overall play, what this event as from beginning to end is like. We also get to discuss what the framing device is doing, and also what the individual plays are like, whether we might want to keep individual plays, or whether we want to jettison them, whether we want to play with them in that fashion, or whether we leave the play as is. Of course, you could do all of them, or none of them. It's entirely up to you. So to read today, to find out what this text is doing, reading Martius and Wife today is
Mark in the Midwest United States.
Reading Emanuel, second captain, and Cornelius is
Emma Kemp. I'm an actor and I'm in London.
Reading the prologue, Lords, first captain, and Cupid is
Hi, I'm Eric. I had to write that down because my brain won't remember that.
No.
But I remember other things.
Yes. Reading Sophocles is
Alan in Suffolk.
Reading Isabella and Dorigen is
Lynn in the northwestern United States.
Reading Rinaldo and Valerius is
Aaron, also in the Northwest United States.
And reading Frigozo and Frigozo. I keep wanting to swap those letters around. Frigozo and Nicodemus is
Olga in Moscow.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading stage directions and generally keeping things moving forward as we go. So we're going to start. Just a general note to the cast and also to the listeners at home. This is a play where the fingerprints of censorship have lingered over it, in the sense there are oaths, or there were potentially originally oaths, but we're into a point of censorship where oaths are removed. So these are denoted by dashes in the script, and the actors will say whatever they say there. Please don't actually swear. I don't want YouTube coming down on me or anything, losing the video if everyone suddenly starts going terribly blue. But just mark them in some fashion, or just ride over them. It's entirely up to you. Having said that there's a prologue, there isn't actually a prologue, at least not to the opening of the play as we have it. Act 1, Scene 1, however, we have enter Don Frigozo, and there is a noise within.
Away with those bold-pated rascals there. Their wits are bound up in vellum, and they're not current here. Down with those gentlemen, out with those, I say, and if their wives at the back door worship and place, I'm ware if I lie on my shoulders like a load of gold on an ass's back. A man in authority is but as a candle in the wind, sooner wasted or blown out than under a bushel. How now, what's the matter?
Enter
Who are you,
Rinaldo.
sir? Who are you, sir?
Who am I, sir? Why, do you not know me?
No, by my... Do I not?
I am sure we dined together today.
That's all one. As I dined with you in the city, and as you paid for my dinner there, I do know you, and am beholding to you. But as my mind is since transmigrating into my office, and as you come to court to have me pay you again, and be beholding to me, I know you not. I know you not.
Nay, but look ye, sir.
Pardon me. If you had been my bedfellow this 7 years, and lent me money to buy my place, I must not transgress principles. This very talking with you is an ill example.
Yes, you are too punctual a courtier, sir. Why, I am a courtier too, yet never understood the place or name to be so infectious to humanity and manners as to cast a man into a burning pride and arrogance for which there is no cure. I am a courtier, and yet I will know my friends, I tell you.
And I tell you, you will thrive accordingly, I warrant you.
But hark ye, Signor Frigozo, you shall first understand, I have no friends with me to trouble you.
That's a good motive.
Nor to borrow money of you.
That's an excellent motive.
No, my sweet Dawn, nor to ask what you owe me.
Why, that is very motive of motives, why I ought and I will know thee, and if I had not warned thee up to this promise, I would not have known thee these 15 years, no more than their errands, almost 100 Castilian that followed our new queen's carriages afoot.
Nor for anything, dear Dawn, but that you would place me conveniently to see the play tonight.
That shall I, Signor Rinaldo, but would you had come sooner? You see how full the scaffolds are. There is scant room for a lover's thought here. Gentlewomen, sit close for shame. Has none of you a little corner for this gentleman? I'll place you, fear not. And how did our brave King of Portugal, Emanuel, bear himself today? You saw the solemnity of the marriage.
Why, like a fit husband for so gracious and excellent a princess as his worthy mate Isabella, the King of Castile's daughter doth in her very external lineaments, mixture of colours and joining dove-like behaviour, assure herself to be. And I protest, my dear Dawn, seriously, I can sing prophetically nothing but blessed hymns and happy occasions to this sacred union of Portugal and Castile, which have so wisely and mutually conjoined two such virtuous and beautiful princes as these are, and in all opinion like to multiply to their very last minute.
The king is entering. Signor, have a hereabout, and as soon as the train is set, clap into me will stand near the state. If you have any creditors here, they shall renew bones a 12th of such a sight. But to touch a pommel of the king's chair in the sight of a citizen is better security for 1,000 double ducats than 3 of the best merchants in Lisbon. Besides, Signor, we will censure not only the king in the play here that reigns his 2 hours, but the king himself that is to rule his lifetime. Take my counsel. I have one word to say to this noble assembly, and I'm for you.
Your method shall govern me.
Prologues are bad hushers before the wise. Why may not then an husher prologize? Here is a fair sight, and were you often seen, thus gathered here, 'twould please our king and queen. Upon my conscience, you are welcome all to Lisbon and the court of Portugal, where your fair eyes shall feed on no worse sights than preparations made for king's delights. We wish to men content and manliest treasure, and to the women their own wished for pleasure.
And a flourish. Officially here, enter King and Queen, though I suspect in a sense they've been entering far earlier. Enter King and Queen Emanuel and Isabella, lords and attendants.
Fair fountain of my life, from whose pure streams the propagation of 2 kingdoms flows. Never contention rise in either's breast, but contestation whose love shall be best.
Majestic ocean, that with plenty feeds me, thy poor tributary rivulet, sun of my beauty, that with radiant beams dost gild and dance upon these humble streams. Cursed be my birth hour and my ending day, when back your love floods I forget to pay. Or if this breast of mine, your crystal book, ever take other form in, other look but yours, or e'er produce unto your grace a strange reflection, or another's face, but be your love book clasped, open to none but you, nor hold a story but your own. A water fixed that ebbs nor floods pursue, frozen to all, only dissolved to you.
Oh, who shall tell the sweetness of our love to future times, and not be thought to lie? I look through this hour like a perspective, and far off see millions of prosperous seeds that our reciprocal affection breeds. Thus my white rib, close in my breast with me, which naught shall tear hence but mortality.
Be kingdoms blessed in
Blessed
you,
in
you
you,
blessed in
blessed in
them.
them. Oh, my signor, my strong imagination shows me love, methinks, bathing in milk and wine in her cheeks. Oh, how she clips him like a plant of ivy.
Aye, could not you be content to be an owl in such ivy bush, or one of the oaks of the city to be so clipped?
Equivocal Don, though I like the clipping well, I could not be content either to be your owl or your oxen of the city. The play begins.
But we're going to pause before the play begins because I think we should take in some of the oddnesses of this framing device. So, in a sense, it's fairly straightforward. There's a wedding, but it's a historical wedding. This wedding happened in 1497. So it's already 100 and plus years from the start of this play. So I'm assuming that the significance of the marriage with Portugal and Castile has a signifier that my knowledge of history is not giving me. That this is obviously an important union that has some bearing on the European state of play and to do with alliances that may be involved with England in some fashion. I don't know. I wasn't getting an awful lot from this to actually give me more on that, apart from there is a wedding, there's going to be some shows. Which is a perfectly fine framing device. But I'm really curious as to what this is trying to signify with this choice of this wedding. It's not like it's been written for a modern wedding and they're just doing the conceit. This is an entirely... this is a real wedding from 100 plus years ago. So it's really odd. I'm curious. Lynn?
Yeah, who is it? It's one of the guy who comes in and says, "Oh, I'm a courtier. Don't you remember me?" That's I can't remember this, but the second character on stage says something about, "Oh, what a great idea this is!" Like, "Oh, they're both so wonderful, and it's so great that they're getting married." And then the bride and groom have these little passages where they just talk about, "Oh, this is so wonderful. You're the ocean, and I'm just a rivulet, and our and the future will chronicle our loves." That in drama, that just can't bode well about, "Oh, this is so wonderful."
Mm. well, it does smack to me of just, we've written our own vows. And in a sense, it's quite sweet. I was quite interested about the courtier back and forth because it was this case of, I don't know you, I probably owe you money. It's not that I don't know you, I officially cannot see you because I might owe you money. And that sort of that little back and forth, which was quite interesting, a little impenetrable actually, but I think the meat of it was, there was something there that was quite interesting, and I think could be played with and made to land a bit better than at a first cold read. So yeah, historians out there who can tell us a bit more about the fate of this particular nuptials. Is it going to turn out really well or terribly? I will endeavour to find that out by the end of the last session, when I think we should know the answer to that. The play might tell us later on. This is a framing device. We will return to this wedding later. But it is a framing device for the 4 plays in one evening, one afternoon, 4 plays. You're getting your money's worth, honest. Any other thoughts on this framing? Emma?
No, it seems that Frigozo and Rinaldo have a nice job of like warming the audience up, I feel. And there was that section where you could literally play with the audience, where one of, I think it was Frigozo, tells could be talking to the audience when he says, "Ladies, budge up, make a space," something like that, playing with the audience and getting them ready.
Yes, which is a very mid-Tudor thing of, no room, get out of the way. I like Frizogo's prologue. It's like this play there's multiple. I said there was no prologue at the beginning of the play. There are loads of prologues. It's just they're not at the very opening of the play. And I'm curious about the spelling of hushes, the H on usher, to lean into hush but also into he's an usher, but it's sort of he's a shut the hell upper. And I'm curious about whether H's weren't always pronounced, so it might still be pronounced as usher anyway. But it just seemed quite deliberate in the text. That may not be the case. I'll go to Aaron, then Alan.
I can't explain why. I really like that joke. I kind of building on what you're saying about the multiple prologues. There's a huge amount of flattery going on. Like the Husher's line is basically, prologues suck at quieting rich people. Like he's basically saying when prologues come out to talk to hush the audience as a way of getting people ready for the show. Doesn't matter, kings, queens, and courtiers will talk right over them because they're more important. But since I've quieted you all down anyway, maybe I'll offer you a prologue. I for some reason I just found that a delightful turn of phrase. And I do think it's funny then that they then have to sit through a prologue anyway later on. Like it seems like he's kind of flattering them, but you're too smart for a prologue. It's except here's the prologue, there you go. And it seems like he's trying to set them up just to kind of get them chuckling and laughing and get them in the mood. I like it. I think it's a nice setup.
Yes, and it begs the question as to precisely at what point because we have the stage direction after that speech of flourish, enter king and queen, but we had before the prologue the king is entering. So it's a question of how long does it take the king to enter? Is it that actually the entourage enters, because that's the way it sort of works? The lower orders enter first, get themselves set, and then the king arrives last. So is it more that actually everybody's coming on and the flourish only actually occurs at the end of the prologue, and then the king and queen actually come in and everybody else has to shut up? But it's an interesting question about how you format your stage directions and what that text is doing in that sense. Alan?
Yeah, I haven't got an etymological dictionary to hand, but I have a sneaking feeling that usher may originally have derived from husher, the person who told people to shut up.
Yeah, so the H's tend to become silent and therefore disappear from certain words because it wouldn't have been necessarily depends on what the word and the sound before it was. So I think you might say bad husher there, but you wouldn't say an. Yeah, I don't think you'd say the H after an an. Anyway, I am not certain on that point, but I'm that's one for someone above my pay grade. So let's go into the actual play. Shall we get into some actual drama? So the prologue technically lives before Act 2, which is the actual meat of the action. But let's have the official prologue. There is a flourish. Enter a poet with a garland.
Lo, at your sacred feet our poor muse lays her thunder fearless verdant bays. For several triumphs to your princely eyes of honor, love, death, and time do rise. From our approaching subject, which we move towards you with fear, since that with the sweeter love, a brighter honor, pure chastity, march in your breasts this day triumphantly, than our weak scenes can show. Then how dare we present like apes and zanies things that be exemplified in you, but that we know we ne'er craved grace which you did not bestow.
Exit poet prologue. We move into Act 2, Scene 1, the triumph of honor. Enter in triumph with drums and trumpets. Don't know where my drum is. Colours, etc. Martius, Valerius, Sophocles, bound, Nicodemus, Cornelius, captains and soldiers.
What means proud Sophocles?
To go even with Martius and not to follow him like his officer. I never waited yet on any man.
Why, poor Athenian Duke, thou art my slave. My blows have conquered thee.
Thy slave? Proud Martius, Cato, thy countryman, whose constancy of all the Romans I did honour most, wrecked himself twice to avoid slavery, making himself his own anatomy. See, Martius, not a vein runs here from head to foot, but Sophocles would unseen, and like a spring garden shoot his scornful blood into their eyes, lest come to tread on him. As for thy blows, they did not conquer me. 7 battles have I met thee face to face, and given thee blow for blow, and wound for wound, until thou taught'st me, knew not to retire. Thy sword was then as bold, thy arm as strong. Thy blows then, Martius, cannot conquer me.
What is it, then?
Fortune.
Why, yet in that thou art the worse man, and must follow him.
Young sir, you err. If fortune could be called, or his, or yours, or mine, in good or evil, for any certain space, thou hast spoke truth. But she but jests with man, and in mischance abhors all constancy, flouting him still with some small touch of good, or seeming good, midst of his mischief, which vicissitude makes him straight doff his armour, and his fence he had prepared before to break her strokes. So, in the very zenith of her wheel, when she has dandled some choice favourite, given him his boons in women, honour, wealth, and all the various delicacies of earth, that the fool scorns the gods in his excess, she whirls and leaves him at the antipodes.
Art sure we have taken him? Is this Sophocles? His fettered arms say no, his free soul aye. This Athens nurseth arts as well as arms.
No, nor glory, Martius, in this day of thine. 'Tis behind yesterday, but before tomorrow. Who knows what fortune then will do with thee? She never yet could make the better man. The better chance she has, the man that's best, she still contends with, and doth favour least.
Methinks a graver thunder than the skies breaks from his lips. I am amazed to hear, and Athens' words more than her swords doth fear.
Martius, slave Sophocles, couldst thou acquire, and did thy Roman gods so love thy prayers and solemn sacrifice to grant thy suit, to gather all the valour of the Caesars, thy predecessors, and what is to come, and by their influence fling it on thee now, thou couldst not make my mind go less, nor pair with all their swords one virtue from my soul. How my vassal then? Make such thy slaves as dare not keep their goodness past their graves. No, general, we two are chances on the die of fate. Now thrown, thy six is up, and my poor one beneath thee. Next, thy throw, they set me uppermost, and cart thee below.
Yet will I try thee more. Calamity is man's true touchstone. Listen, insolent prince, thou darest contemn the master of thy life, which I will force here for thy city walls with barbarous cruelty, and call thy wife to see it, and then after her send her, and then demolish Athens to the ground, depopulate her, fright away her fame, and leave succession neither stone nor name. Dost thou deride me?
Kneel, ask Martius for mercy, Sophocles, and live happy still.
Kneel and ask mercy? Roman, art a god? I never kneeled, nor begged of any else. Thou art a fool, and I will loose no more instructions on thee. Now I find thy ears.
And midline solemn music plays. Enter Dorigen, ladies bearing a sword.
Are foolish like thy son. Dorigen, must she see me bound?
There's the first sigh he breathed since he was born, I think.
Forbear, all but the lady, his wife.
How my heart chides the manacles of my hands, that let them not embrace my Dorigen.
Turn but thy face, and ask thy life of Martius thus, and thou with thy fair wife shalt live. Athens shall stand, and all her privileges augmented be.
'Twere better Athens perished, and my wife, which, Romans, I do know a worthy one. Then Sophocles, which should shrink of Sophocles, commit profane idolatry by giving the reverence due to the gods, to thee, blown man.
Rough, stubborn cynic.
Thou art rough afar, and of a coarser whale, fuller of pride, less temperate to bear prosperity. Thou seest my mere neglect hath raised in thee a storm more boisterous than the oceans. Thy virtue, patience, makes thee vicious.
Why, fair-eyed lady, do you kneel?
Great general, victorious godlike Martius, your poor handmaid kneels for her husband, will not, cannot, speaks thus humbly that he may not. Listen, Roman, thou whose advanced front doth speak thee, Roman, to every nation, and whose deeds assure it. Behold a princess whose declining head, like to a drooping lily after storms, bows to thy feet. And playing here the slave, to keep her husband's greatness unabated, all which doth make thy conquest greater. For if he be base in aught whom thou hast taken, then Martius hath but taken a base prize. But if this jewel hold lustre and value, Martius is richer than in that he hath won. Oh, make him such a captive, as thyself unto another wouldst, great captain, be. Till then, he is no prisoner fit for thee.
Valerius, here is harmony would have brought old crabbed Saturn to sweet sleep, when Jove did first incense him with rebellion. Athens doth make women philosophers, and sure their children chat the talk of gods.
Rise, beauteous Dorigen.
Not until I know the general's resolution.
One soft word from Sophocles would calm him into tears, like gentle showers after tempestuous winds.
To buy the world he will not give a word, a look, a tear, a knee against his own judgment and the divine composure of his mind. All which I therefore do, and here present this victor's wreath, this rich Athenian sword, trophies of conquest, which great Martius wear and be appeased. Let Sophocles still live.
He would not live.
He would not beg to live. When he shall so forget, then I begin to command Martius, and when he kneels, Dorigen stands. When he lets fall a tear, I dry mine eyes and scorn him.
Scorn him now then, here in the face of Athens, and thy friend self-willed, stiff Sophocles, prepare to die. And by that sword thy lady honored me, with which herself shall follow. Romans, friends, who dares but strike this stroke shall part with me half Athens, and my half of victory.
Bye.
Bye.
Not we.
Not we.
We too
We
will
too will do
sir.
it, sir.
Away, ye fish-faced rascals.
Martius, to eclipse this great eclipse labors thy fame. Valerius thy brother shall for once turn executioner. Give me the sword. Now, Sophocles, I'll strike as suddenly as thou darest die.
Thou canst not. And Valerius, 'tis less dishonour to thee thus to kill me than bid me kneel to Martius. 'Tis to murder the fame of living men, which great ones do, their studies scrangle. Poison makes away, the wretched hangman only ends the play.
Art thou prepared?
Yes?
Bid thy wife farewell.
No, I will take no leave. My Dorigen, yonder above, about Ariadne's crown, my spirit shall hover for thee. Prithee haste.
Stay, Sophocles, with this tie up my sight. Let not soft nature so transformed be, and lose her gentler sexed humanity, to make me see my lord bleed. So 'tis well. Never one object underneath the sun will I behold before my Sophocles. Farewell. Now teach the Romans how to die.
Dost know what 'tis to die?
Thou dost not, Martius, and therefore not what 'tis to live. To die is to begin to live. 'Tis to end an old, stale, weary work, and to commence a newer and a better. 'Tis to leave deceitful knave for the society of gods and goodness. Thou thyself must part at last from all thy garlands, pleasures, triumphs, and prove thy fortitude. What then 'twill do?
But art not grieved nor vexed to leave life thus?
Why should I grieve or vex for being sent to them that I have loved best? Now I'll kneel, but with my back towards thee, 'Tis the last duty this trunk can do the gods.
Strike, strike, Valerius, or Martius' heart will leap out at his mouth. This is a man, a woman. Kiss thy lord and live with all the freedom you were wont. Ah, love, thou doubly hast afflicted me, with virtue and with beauty. Treacherous heart, my hand shall cast thee quick into my urn, ere thou transgress this knot of piety.
What ails my brother?
Martius, oh Martius, thou now hast found a way to conquer me.
O star of Rome, what gratitude can speak fit words to follow such a deed as this?
Doth Juno talk, or Dorigen?
You are observed.
This admirable Duke Valerius, with his disdain of fortune and of death, captived himself, hath captivated me. And though my arm hath ta'en his body here, his soul hath subjugated Martius' soul. By Romulus, he is all soul, I think. He hath no flesh, and spirit cannot be gived. Then we have vanquished nothing, he is free. And Martius now walks now in captivity.
How fares the noble Roman?
Why?
Your blood is sunk down to your heart, and your bright eyes have lost their splendor.
Baser fires go out when the sun shines on 'em. I am not well. An apoplectic fit I used to have after my heats in war carelessly cooled.
Martius shall rest in Athens with his friends till this distemper leave him. O great Roman, see Sophocles do that for thee. He could not do it for himself. Martius, by the... It grieves me that so brave a soul should suffer under the body's weak infirmity. Sweet lady, take him to thy loving charge, and let thy care be tender.
Kingly sir, I am your nurse and servant.
Oh, dear lady, my mistress, nay, my deity. Guide me, heaven. 10 reeds triumphant Martius will give to change a Martius for a Sophocles. Can't not be done, Valerius, with this boot. Inseparable affection ever thus colleague with Athens, Rome.
Beat warlike tunes whilst Dorigen thus honors Martius' brow with one victorious wreath more.
And Sophocles thus girds his sword of conquest to his thigh, which ne'er be drawn but cut out victory.
Forever be it thus.
Be it thus.
And everybody exits apart from Cornelius and Nicodemus, but we will pause there. Okay, so several things leaping out at me on this, in that the difference between writing a 5-act play and writing a 1-actor. Writing a short thing, and it's sort of a bit like the difference between a 4-5 day test match and a 2020 match, in the sense that you've just got to go out there and just hit some really big swings, aim for the boundary. It's all very big. The plot has to move incredibly quickly. Everything has to be painted in quite broad strokes because we've got to get to the next plot beat, because there aren't many plot beats. We've only got 20 minutes, or half an hour, however long this text turns out to be. So it's all painted really thick here, isn't it? You are my captive. Oh, I spit in your face. Oh, my wife is so noble. Oh, we are so noble. Oh no, they're so noble. I won't kill you now. And it's like it all happens so quickly, and it's all so big that but it has to be to a degree, because it hasn't got any time to be subtle, because it's got to move on. And also the question of what the story is doing. It's set as entertainment for a wedding, so of course it's about their love is so great and powerful that it unites kingdoms. I don't know if I'd have this at the entertainment at a nuptials, but I'm curious now to see how it would play. Of just going, love would conquer all. Thoughts of the room. Who wants to leap in? There's a lot to play with. There's a lot of stuff to play with here. It's broad stuff. I'm still talking because nobody's waving.
Okay.
Did you feel terribly noble, Martius? Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like at the beginning of the scene, I felt like it was going to be like, wow, Sophocles is being stupid, and eventually is going to realize, like, oh, I am a prisoner. But no, it goes the other way. Martius is just like, you're right. Your words have, and also I'm in love with your wife. But also you're cool. Yeah, it's an odd one.
Yeah, and I can't see that go. That might not go well as a plot line. The "I'm in love with your wife" bit might be a problem.
Nah, that probably won't complicate anything.
No, I'm sure it'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. They'll all just talk it out amongst themselves. Lynn.
Yeah, and it's interesting that Martius doesn't fall in love with her really particularly because she's beautiful, which is the way it works normally in early modern plays. It's like, oh, she's so attractive, I have to have her. Whether that's appropriate or inappropriate, whether the match would be appropriate or inappropriate, it's usually the young woman's beauty which provokes the that action. And here he's sort of in love with her character, with her strength of character, with her sort of moral way of being in the world. I'm sure she's pretty too, but that's a sort of interesting dynamic here, and unusual.
Yeah, and of course she's brought on as a bargaining chip for him, just to convince this guy, hey, we could just kill your family, if you really, oh no, you can't do anything to me. Well, want to bet, and then of course the tables are turned. So it's because of course Martius isn't coming across as a great guy considering the sort of the general thrust of the action, but he's turnable, and of course you've got a brother dynamic going on of his brother just going, all right, I'll kill him then.
I'll do it.
I have to do all the hard jobs. It's just.
Yeah, I got to do the dirty work again.
And I also just love the way you've got the two, people saying we're not doing it. We'll do it. No, not you. It does drift a bit into bathos rather than pathos at times, which I think is something that a production has to be a bit cognizant of. But then again, we don't know where this story is going. So so I don't know whether it's supposed to be this is a tragic leading story. It could be that it's supposed to be actually a bit lighter and a bit sillier because it is about noble things happening at a wedding, as entertainment at a wedding. I'll go to Eric, then Olga.
I mean, I would lean into the silliness just because some of these sound over the top, especially in such a short amount of time. Like, it's not like, I mean, okay, it has, as you said, it has to establish things very quickly, but it's just that thing of the situation with Sophocles and Dorigen is resolved very quickly. So you can, I feel, lean into the silliness and just sort of go, well, sort of, this is just too funny to, like when people are sort of over the top in love in romantic comedies or something. And you can't sort of you have to have space for that, I think, even in this context. Maybe.
Olga, then Aaron.
I'll second Eric here because with this setup of the nuptials and entertainment, and then going on such a pathetic scale into what seemed to be tragic scene, I started doubting and actually was puzzled half of the time if it has to be so serious, or if there's a second layer, if it has to be played like something else. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the scenes could be played. I mean, we've got an execution being set up, there's a delay for it happening, and it's there are moments, and how I think, if you push it in the other direction, that it's going to be very serious and very dark. It could just about sustain it, but there are moments where the text just gives us the opportunity, certainly for a modern audience, to laugh. So it is a question of what is the authorial intent and what is the original expectation from the audience then. It's still a bit of an open question for me.
Yeah, at this point we are sort of in the shoes of the audience because we don't know where it's going. So we don't know how to play it, and it's just based on the words that we are reading, it doesn't give us much clue actually.
No, it's not giving us a definite absolute in that sense.
Tone is the tone is Yeah.
Aaron, then Mark.
I'm definitely on the side that the satire is there. Poor Martius is literally acting like a man that has never had a woman say a nice word to him. And Dorigen shows up and says, "Oh, big Roman, big strong Roman, look, I am a princess and I'll get down on my knees and beg for my husband's life." And he literally turns and says, "See, do that." Like this is what I want. And then she outflanks him. She's the negotiator, right? She outflanks him and he says, "Well, now I'm going to kill your husband if you don't make him do it." And she says, "Oh, well, if he did this, I would never look at him again." So like she ties him in knots and he's just like, "This is what I want, a woman who talks nice to me and then scolds me and what I'm supposed to do. Why can't I mean that it I think the satire is there. I think he is supposed to be a ridiculous figure who is easily flattered and once flattered can be, driven against his own interest. That's where I'm leaning with this one.
Yeah, it's interesting because we also have a sort of culture clash going on here. That we have the Athenians, known as being philosophers, and it's like he goes, "Oh my goodness, even your women are philosophers. This is amazing." Against Roman martial might, which is subtle as a brick, and
Exactly.
and that is shown quite clearly actually in the text. Mark.
So yeah, Martius at one point after he's like kind of freaking out about being in love and otherwise being kind of captivated, he says, "I am not well, an apoplectic fit I used to have after my heat." He's saying that he's having like a fit, which I know that there are early modern English plays where Julius Caesar is discussed as having fits.
Julius Caesar is known as having
Some kind of Caesar disorder.
So yeah, I'm curious how much this is taking inspiration from that, or just if there's some general vibe in early modern drama at this time that it's like, yeah, just Roman generals, Roman leaders, they have fits of various sorts. It's also unclear whether he's even telling the truth here. Is he having a fit because of how he's feeling, or is he just, using that as an excuse for why he's, emotionally freaking out here?
And what he means by fit in this context, is it just I just feel a bit faint, it's the kind of thing I feel the come down after a battle is so much. I'm just like I'm just a limp rag. That kind of logic. Anyway, I'll go to Eric and then we'll move on.
Basically, I have a sort of question slash observation, because like the prologue kind of goes, well, we know that you're in love, you're honorable and chaste, so we're going to try and show that, but it won't be quite as accurate. So it's kind of like I'm just wondering if that's part of the comedy.
If it is a comedy, again, the jury is out. We shall see. It may be intended to be desperately serious or not. Let us gather more data. So they exit. The scene's still ongoing because Cornelius and Nicodemus remain on stage.
Corporal Nicodemus, a word with you.
My worthy subtler Cornelius, it befits not Nicodemus, the Roman officer, to parley with a fellow of thy rank. The affairs of the empire are to be occupied.
Let the affairs of the empire lie a while unoccupied, sweet Nicodemus. I do require the money at thy hands, which thou dost owe me, and if fair means cannot attain, force of arms shall accomplish.
Put up and live.
I have put up too much already, thou corporal of concupiscence, for I suspect thou hast dishonoured my flock-bed, and with thy foolish eloquence and that bewitching face of thine, drawn my wife. The young harlotry baggish to prostitute herself unto thee. Draw, therefore, for thou shalt find thyself a mortal corporal.
Stay thy dead doing hand and here. I will rather dissent from my honour and argue this contumelies with thee than clutch thee, poor fly, in this eaglet of mine, or draw my sword of fate on a peasant, a besogner, a cockler, as thou art. Thou shalt first understand this foolish eloquence and intolerably beauty of mine, which I protest are merely natural, are the gifts of the gods, with which I have neither sent bawdy sonnet nor amorous glance, or, as the vulgar call it, sheep's eye to thy betrothed Florence.
Thou liest.
O God of Rome, was Nicodemus born to hear these braveries from a poor provant? Yet when dogs bark, or when the asses bray, the lion laughs, not roars, but goes his way.
There. Oh, you poetical vein. This versifying my wife has hornified me. Sweet Corporal Codshead, no more standing on your punctilios and puncettos of honour. They are not worth a louse. The truth is, thou art the general's bigamy, that is, his fool and his knave. Thou art miscreant and recreant. Not an horse boy in the legions, but has beaten thee. Thy beginning was knapsack, and thy ending will be halter-sack.
Methinks I am now Sophocles the wise, and thou art Martius the mad.
No more of your tricks, good Corporal Leatherchops. I say, thou hast dishonoured me, and since honour nowadays is only repaired by money, pay me, and I am satisfied. Even reckoning keeps long friends.
Let us continue friends then, for I have been even with thee a long time, and though I have not paid thee, I have paid thy wife.
Throw forth my tears. Thou hast deflowered her, Tarquin, the garden of my delight, hedged about, in which there was but one bowling alley for mine own private procreation. Thou hast, like a thief in the night, leaped the hedge, entered my alley, and without my privity played thine own rubbers.
How long shall patience thus securely snore? Is it my fault if this attractive eyes, this budding chin or rosy-coloured cheek, this comely body or this waxen leg have drawn her into a fool's paradise? By Cupids, I do swear no other, she's chaster far than Lucrece, her grandmother, pure as glass window, ere the rider dash it, whiter than lady's smock when she did wash it. For well thou wast, though now my heart's commandress, I once was free, and she but Kemp's laundress.
Ay, she then came sweet to me, no part about her but smelt of soap suds, like a dryad out of a wash bowl. Pray or pay?
Hold.
Was thy cheese mouldy, or thy pennyworths small? Was not thy ale the mightiest of the earth in malt, and thy stoke filled like a tide? Was not thy bed soft, and thy bacon fatter than a dropsy? Come, sir.
Mars, then inspire me with the fencing skill of our tragedian actors. Honest pricks, and subtler, now I come with forks and twigs. Grant us one crush, one pass, and now a high cavalto fall. Then up again, now down again, yet do no harm at all.
Enter wife.
Oh, that ever I was born. Why, gent?
Messalene of Rome, away, disloyal concubine. I will be deafer to thee than thou art to others. I will have my 100 drachmas he owes me, thou arrant whore.
I know he has 100 drachmas of the score, but what of that? No bloodshed, sweet Cornelius. Oh, my heart, my conscience, it is fallen through the bottom of my belly. My sweet Didymus, if either of ye miskill one another, what will become of poor Florence? Pacify yourselves, I pray.
Go to. My heart is not stone. I am not marble. Dry your eyes, Florence. The scurvy ape's face knows my blind side well enough. Leave your puling. Will this content ye? Let him taste thy nether lip, which in sign of amity I thus take off again. Go thy ways, and provide the cow's udder.
Lily of Concord. And now, honest settler, since I have had proof as well of thy good nature as of thy wife's before, I will acquaint thee with a project shall fully satisfy thee for thy debt. Thou shalt understand I am shortly to be knighted.
Devil thou art.
Renounce me else. For the sustenance of which worship many times wants sustenance, I have here the general's grant to have the leading of 200 men.
You jest, you jest.
Refuse me else to the pit.
Mercy on us. Have you not forgot yourself? By your swearing, you should be knighted already.
Damn me, sir. Here's his hand. Read it.
Alas, I cannot.
I know that. It has pleased the general to look upon my service. Now, sir, shall you join with me in petitioning for 50 men more in regard of my arranges to you, which if granted, I will bestow the whole profit of those 50 men on thee and thine heirs forever, till Atropos do cut this simple thread.
No more, dear corporal, Sir Nicodemus, that shall be. I cry your wishes mercy. I am your servant, body and goods, movables and immovables. Use my house, use my wife, use me, abuse me, do what you list.
Figment is a candid lie. This is an old pass. Mark what follows.
And they exit. Okay, if there was some ambiguity about the previous scene being semi-comic or not, there is no doubt that this is the comedy business, and of which there is some really good bits in here. There is a fair amount that is also a little impenetrable, but there's even when I wasn't quite sure precisely what they were talking about, I was going, "Oh, this has got bounce. This is flowing nicely." Yeah, there's some interesting stuff. I mean, it's not all. Some of it's a little problematic, but it is doing some really interesting work. I'll go to Alan, then to Mark.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem to have an awful lot of connective tissue to the previous stuff. It almost feels like, oh, these two members of the company, yes, they've got this double act they've been working on for donkey's years. Let's give them a chance to have a play with it.
Well, I mean, I think it's in counterpoint with the A plot, as I suppose you could say, in the sense that you've got a marriage and fidelity, and here you've got none of that, and you know, they are soldiers within the army, as it were, and yeah, they're doing some interesting business. Mark.
Yeah, just briefly about the end and the wife's bit. So yeah, she refers to Cornelius as sweet Cornelius, and then Nicodemus as oh my sweet Didymus. So she refers to them both as sweet. She's like, it's very much just like, I like both of you, but really don't kill each other, because what about the country where we're all from? Like, come on, think about them. But yeah, they don't mark any exit, and I don't see any suggestions of like an obvious exit for her before this, which if she's overhearing the rest of this conversation, I think it would be hilarious with just the like, use my house, use my wife, and just her in the back being like, yes, got permission at the end there.
Yeah, I mean, the whole bowling alley sequence, it did tickle me, and but you know, it's also, you know, also no part about her but smelt of soap suds like a dryad out of a washbowl. I mean, it's just there's something really interesting the way the certainly Cornelius is structured here, and the way Nicodemus sort of constantly batting him, and setting up this whole thing to do with this knighthood, etc. at the end. Yeah, I can't see it going horribly wrong at all. Eric.
Well, also the bit about the bowling alley, it was like, I had one thing that was mine, and you took it. Well, I mean, thing here being sort of his wife, but obviously, yeah, objectifications and so forth. But yeah, it just felt like over the top comedy. You can't really do well, but you have to do it like in a serious tone so that the comedy comes across. Otherwise, it's too, yeah.
Yeah, and it's of course the way Cornelius basically does this volte face by at the end, where he just turns around and goes, "So, sir, you know, if that's what's going on, yeah, it's fine. Do whatever you like, because there is advancement and station and things, and it's sort of like, yeah, you weren't that, you know, how far does your anger last? One of the dams made it through. I suppose it's because he's damning himself. Maybe it gets away with it. But yeah, we do get a bit of an oath there. Any other thoughts on that before we move back to... I mean, I'm calling it the A plot. I mean, there's only 2 plots we've got, and it's not a very long play. Alan.
Yeah, I mean, given as you said, the printing of this took out the curses, and yet they let that bowling alley routine remain in there without.
It's not an oath. So this is the thing. It's about oaths. The swearing that people care about. If you swear on something, that has value and weight in a way that the other innuendos or rudenesses don't count. They're not the same sort of issue at all. Lynn.
Yeah, in this period and after this too, actually until fairly recently, religious blasphemy, religious swearing was considered more offensive than sexual wordplay. Like our culture, it's the opposite. That words for bodily functions and bodily parts are more offensive than religious based swearing, but it's the opposite in this period. Religion is a much more taboo area.
And it's a relatively new injunction. But let's say one of the other elements is the way the society is structured. When you swear to something, to do something, or swear by something, that's sort of how society is structured. Certainly in terms of the oaths. They're really important for transactions. If your word is not your bond, that is a problem. So people abusing oaths is part of that. It's sort of about trying to keep our society, the structures of our society in place in this increasing proto-capitalistic world, which is finding other ways of proving that you are worthy of credit, etc. So it's an interesting combination of both religion but also to a degree about just how society functions. Anyway, we should move on. Act 2, Scene 2. Enter Martius and 2 captains.
Pray leave me. You are Romans, honest men. Keep me not company. I am turned knave, have lost my fame and nature.
Exeunt the 2 captains who entered to exit.
Athens, Athens. This Dorigen is thy palladium. He that will sack thee must betray her first, whose words wound deeper than her husband's sword. Her eyes make captive still the conqueror, and here they keep her only to that end. O subtle devil, what a golden ball did tempt when thou didst cast her in my way! Foolish Sophocles, broughtst thou not to field thy lady that thou mightst have overcome? Martius had kneeled and yielded all his wreaths that hang like jewels on the sevenfold hill, and bid Rome send him out to fight with men, for that she knew he durst, and not against fate or deities. To what mortal conquers them? Insatiate Julius, when his victories had run o'er half the world, had he met her, there he had stooped the legend of his deeds, laid by his arms, been overcome himself, and let her vanquish the other half. And fame made beauteous Dorigen the greater name. Shall I thus fall? I will not. No, my tears cast on my heart shall quench these lawless fires. He conquers best, conquers his lewd desires.
Enter Dorigen with ladies.
Great sir, my lord commands me visit you, and thinks your retired melancholy proceeds from some distaste of worthless entertainment. Will it please you? Take your chamber. How do you, sir?
Lost again. Oh, the wild rage of my blood doth ocean-like o'erflow the shallow shore of my weak virtue. My desires are vain, that the least breath from her turns every face away.
What says my lord?
Dismiss your women, pray, and I'll reveal my grief.
Leave me.
And exit the ladies who entered to exit.
Long tales of love, whilst love itself might be enjoyed, are languishing delays. There is a secret strange lies in my breast. I will partake with you, which much concerns your lord, yourself, and me. Ah!
Strange secrets, sir, should not be made so cheap to strangers. And yet, if your strange secret do no lower lie than in your breast, discover it.
I will. Oh, can you not see it, lady, in my sighs?
Sighs none can paint, and therefore who can see?
Scorn me not, Dorigen, with mocks. Alcides, that mastered monsters, was by beauty tamed. Omphale smiled his club out his hand and made him spin her smocks. Oh, sweet, I love you. And I love Sophocles. I must enjoy you, and yet I would not injure him.
Let go, you hurt me. Sir, farewell. Stay, is this Martius? I will not tell my lord, he'll swear I lie. Doubt my fidelity before thy honor. How hast thou vexed the gods that they would let thee thus violate friendship, hospitality, and all the bounds of sacred piety? Sure, thou betrayest me out of love to him, and wouldst reject me if I did consent. No, Martius, Martius, would thou in 1 minute blast all thy laurels, which so many years thou hast been purchasing with blood and sweat? Hath Dorigen never been written, read, without the epithet of chaste, chaste Dorigen? And wouldst thou fall upon her chastity like a black drop of ink to blot it out? When men shall read the records of thy valor, thy hitherto brave virtue, and approach, highly content yet, to this foul assault, included in this leaf, this ominous leaf, they shall throw down the book and read no more. That, though the best deeds ensue, and all conclude that ravel the whole story, whose heart, which should have been, proved the most leprous part.
Oh, thou confutest divinely, and thy words do fall like rods upon me. But they have such silken lines and silver hooks that I am faster snared. My love has ta'en such hold that, like two wrestlers, though thou stronger be, and hast cast me, I hope to pull thee after. I must, or perish.
Perish, Martius, then, for here I vow unto the gods, these rocks we see fixed shall be removed, made champion field, ere I so impious prove to stain my lord's bed with adulterous love.
Enter Valerius. Someone's Valerius.
That's me. The gods protect fair Dorigen.
Amen. From all you wolvish Romans.
Exit Dorigen.
What's this? Still, brother, in your moods? Oh, then my doubts are truths. Have at it. I must try a way to be resolved.
Ah, how strangely dost thou look. What ailst thou?
What ailst thou?
Oh, I'm mad.
Why, I am madder. Martius, draw thy sword, and lop a villain from the earth, for if thou wilt not, on some tree about this place, I'll hang myself. Valerius shall not live to wound his brother's honor, stain his country, and branded with ingratitude to all times.
For what can all this be?
I am in love.
Why, so am I. With whom, huh?
Dorigen.
With Dorigen? How dost thou love her? Speak.
Oh, even to the height of lust, and I must have her, or else I'll die.
Thou shalt, thou daring traitor! On all the confines I have rid my horse. Was there no other woman for thy choice but Dorigen? Why, villain, she is mine! She makes me pine thus, sullen, mad, and fool. It is I must have her, or I die.
Oh, all ye gods, with mercy look on this declining rock of valor and of virtue. Breed not up from infancy in honor to full man as you have done him to destroy. Here strike, for I have only searched thy wound. Dispatch. Far, far be such love from Valerius. So far he scorns to live to be called brother by him that dares own such folly and vice.
'Tis truth thou speaks, but I do hate it. Peace. If heaven will snatch my sword out of my hand and put a rattle in it, what can I do? He that is destined to be odious in his old age must undergo his fate.
Enter Cornelius and Nicodemus.
If you do not back me, I shall never do it.
I warrant you.
Sir, my lord.
What's the matter?
Concerning the odd 50, my lord, and please your generality, his worship, Sir Nicodemus.
What's here? A pass. You would for Rome. You lubbers, doth one day's laziness make you covet home? Away, you boorish rogues, ye dogs, away!
Enter wife.
How now, man, are you satisfied?
Aye. Oh, your corporal, I'm paid soundly. I was never better paid in all my life.
Mary, the God's blessing on his honor's heart. You have done a charitable deed, sir. Many more such may you live to do, sir. The gods keep you, sir. The gods protect you.
Exit comedy type people. Exit Nicodemus and wife.
These peasants mock me, sure, Valerius. Forgive my dotage. See my ashes earned, and tell fair Dorigen, she that but now left me with this harsh vow, sooner these rocks should be removed than she would yield, that I was yet so loving, on her gift to die.
Jupiter forbid it, sir, and grant this my device may certify thy mind. You are my brother, nor must perish thus. Be comforted. Think you fair Dorigen would yield your wishes if these envious rocks by skill could be removed, or by fallacy she made believe so?
Why, she could not choose. The Athenians are religious in their vows, above all nations.
Soft. Down yonder hill the lady comes this way, once more to try her, if she persist in obstinacy. By my skill learned from the old Chaldean was my tutor, who trained me in the mathematics. I will so dazzle and delude her sight that she shall think this great impossibility effected by some supernatural means. Be confident, this engine shall at least till the gods better order still this breast.
Exit Valerius.
Oh, my best brother, go, and for reward choose any part of the world, I'll give it thee. Oh, little Rome. Men say thou art a god. Thou mightst have got a fitter fool than I.
Enter Dorigen. Muted at present.
Art thou there, basilisk? Remove thine eyes, for I am sick to death with thy infection.
Yet have mercy on me. Save him, lady, whose single arm defends all Rome, whose mercy hath saved thy husband's and thy life.
To spoil our fame and honors? No, my vow is fixed and stands, as constant as these stones do still.
Then pity me, ye gods. You only may move her by tearing these firm stones away.
Solemn music. A mist ariseth, the rocks remove. Enter Valerius like Mercury singing.
Martius, rejoice, Jove sends me from above his messenger to cure thy desperate love. To show rash vows cannot bind destiny. Lady, behold, the rocks transplanted be. Hard-hearted Dorigen, yield lest for contempt they fix thee here a rock, whence they're exempt.
Exit Valerius.
What strange delusion is this? What sorcery affrights me with these apparitions? My colder chastity is nigh turned to death. Hence, lewd magician, darest thou make the gods bawds to thy lust? Will they do miracles to further evil, or do they love it now? No, if they dare do so, I dare hate them, and will no longer serve them. Jupiter, thy golden shower, nor thy snow-white swan, had I been Leda, or bright Danae, had bought mine honor, turn me into stone for being good, and blush when thou hast done.
Exit Dorigen. Enter Valerius.
Ah, my Valerius, all yet will not do, unless I could so draw mine honesty down to the lees to be a ravisher. She calls me witch and villain.
Patience, sir. The gods will punish perjury. Let her breathe and ruminate on this strange sight. Time decays the strongest, fairest buildings we can find, but still, Diana, fortify her mind.
And they exit. Okay, I didn't know if everyone knew this was where it was going. But I mean, obviously, when someone says, you can't until these rocks over there, this massive natural formation disappears. I'm not interested. And then, of course, by magic, that's exactly what they can do. I mean, who knew Valerius was so powerful a guy and had such a good singing voice? Who knew? Lynn.
Sing. These stones will move before I'll give in is not the same as saying I'll give in if these stones move. That's not the same. That's not the same thing. But they're saying it. I mean, this has got to be satire.
I don't know if it's that. It definitely is playing with romance tropes more than anything else. We've got these people. It's just odd that it's sort of within this Roman aesthetic. I mean, if it was more Knights of the Round Table kind of logic, I'd sort of be much easier with that sort of that logic to it all, because then you can have Merlins and things, and it all fits together.
Yeah.
But the fact it's sort of semi-historical in its logic, I mean, I don't think any of these people are real Romans or anything, but this idea of conquering Romans, and it creates stakes which a sort of more fictive universe would allow more obviously to say from the beginning, this is all obviously nonsense, because the rocks he's just been able to move a load of rocks and appear like Mercury. I mean, where's the Mercury costume come from, guys? I mean, who's done the orchestration? He's just gone off. He's only been off for 30 seconds.
Little hat with wings,
Yeah. I want to hear the Earth Mover going beep, 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 beep. Alan.
Just wondering, time-wise, this is almost on top of the major court masks, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
the elaborate staging. So maybe that's that type of theatrical effects moving across into the public playhouses.
Yes, we're not absolutely certain which company this is for. It could be a boys' company show, Children of the Queen's Rebels, or it could be Lady Elizabeth's Men. So we don't actually know precisely the auspices for this, whether it's young children being cute or adults being strange. So it really could lean either way, and maybe it switched companies. I am not so hot on what companies are doing at this time. They do dance around a little bit, especially some of the boys' companies. But yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying this play. I don't know. I still don't quite know what it's doing, but it's interesting. And also, the comedy servants just turn up and say, "Excuse me, could you just validate my parking?" And he says, "I'm a bit busy. Go away." And it's actually quite nicely done. I quite liked that. Aaron.
I said it in the chat, but this is a South Park episode. Like, everyone is a cartoon. There's like Dorigen, I think right now is our person who's like the most sane and real world individual. So like all of these crazy things are happening around her. Like the rocks move and she's like, that's not no, like that's not, just because you can do magic doesn't mean I have to sleep with you. What are you doing? And I really enjoy it. I think there's something fun about sending up these soldiers, this Roman masters of the earth mentality. And it's like, no, you've trained to do one thing. And he's like, well, I soldier. Doesn't that mean I get everything I want? No, it doesn't. You have to. And so he's just baffled and kind of flailing about trying to figure. I do love that he'll like draw swords with his brother just because, well, I know how to fight. I'll fight this guy. What? You love the woman who won't sleep with me? I'll fight with you. I just think it's hilarious. I think there's just so much satire in like almost every single line. It's great.
I really want more people to come in being in love, because everyone seems to be in love with Dorigen, so it just seems to be what's going on. And it's just I wanted the two comedy characters to come on and go, actually, sod your wife. You! But it didn't happen. Okay, well, maybe... let's see where this goes. Okay, Act 2, Scene 3. Enter Sophocles and Dorigen.
Weep not, bright Dorigen, for thou hast stood constant and chaste, it seems, gainst gods and men. when rocks and mountains were removed. These wonders do stupefy my senses. Martius, this is hidden humane. Was thy sickness lust? Yet, were this truth, why weeps she? Jealous soul, what dost thou suggest? Vows, magic, rocks, fine tales and tears? She ne'er complained before. Bade her visit him. She often did, had many opportunities. 'Tis naught. Oh, no way but this. Come, weep no more. I've pondered his miracle, the anger of the gods, thy vow, my love to thee and Martius. He must not perish, nor thou be forsworn, lest worse fates follow us. Go, keep thy oath, but chaste or are words of equal length. But let not Martius know that I consent. Oh, I'm pulled in pieces.
Ay, say you so? I'll meet you in your path. Oh, wretched men, with all your valor and your learning, bubbles. Forgive me, Sophocles, yet why I kneel for pardon, having been but over diligent like an obedient servant, antedating my lord's command. Sir, I have often and already given my bosom up to his embraces, and am proud that my dear lord is pleased with it, whose gentle honorable mind I see participates even all, his wife and all, unto his friend. You are sad, sir. Martius loves me, and I love Martius, with such ardency as never married couple could. I must attend him now. My lord, when you have need to use your own wife, pray, sir, send for me. Till then, make use of your philosophy.
Exit Dorigen.
Stay, Dorigen. Oh, me inquisitive fool. Thou didst order this congested heap when 'twas chaos, twixt thy spacious palms, forming it to this vast rotundity. Dissolve it now. Shuffle the elements, that no one proper by itself may stand. Sea quench the sun, and in that instant the sun drink up the sea. Day ne'er come down to light me to those deeds that must be done.
Exit Sophocles. Yeah, for philosophers, they're not very good at chopping logic. As Lynn pointed out earlier, it didn't actually make a promise to do the thing if the thing was done. It was, I won't do it even until it's like it wasn't an absolute, but he seems to be taking it that way, and that's the way the player is pushing it. And it's like, well, I suppose there's the same number of syllables in the words, so that'll be fine. And it's sort of like, yeah, you might have to do it, and it's like, yeah. I mean, the problem here is, of course, trying to make it's the usual problem with stories. The story, often short stories will do things where it says this happened because, and when you try to then translate it into a play, or the plot is saying this must happen, they haven't actually got enough time or the logic to actually go, can we find a better reason for it to happen at this point? Can we just make it better rather than just, oh, the story says this has to happen now, so you have to have this scene to say it happens now. Doesn't feel earned. Lynn, then Eric.
I don't know for sure what was going on in that scene, but the choice I made was that Dorigen is being sarcastic. I mean, anything could happen, I suppose. Maybe it's true. It's like, oh, I'm so glad it's okay with you because we've already had sex. Maybe that's true, but so maybe I'm wrong. Just in case that turns out to be
they haven't consummated anything at this stage.
It
is a case. Yeah. She's gone to him and said, "Oh, look, I've made this promise," and he's going, "What do I do? What do I do? Oh, you're probably going to have to go through with it. I've done the maths. She'll find a way. She's clever. She'll figure a way out of this. I think
she seems smarter than all of them put together.
Exactly. So yeah, she went to her husband. Husband had nothing. Just get a divorce. Just marry something. Just don't stick with these guys.
Or they were willing to die at Valerius's sword in the first scene of this play. I mean, the honorable thing to do is like, I'm not advocating this, but like in the logic of the time, the thing to do would be to commit suicide rather
I
than
think
have their marriage violated.
And I think there's something about the Sophocles' logic there that he hasn't thought through, which is, he's saying chaste and whore are words of equal length, but he hasn't taken into account the Scrabble score. And I think there's a bit of a differential there. So,
or that one's a noun and one's an adjective.
Yeah.
And parts of each.
So I think we can play with that a bit more, but maybe not. Eric.
Well, also it's just that like we said earlier, just because it's like, I wouldn't ever sleep with you till pigs fly or something, and it's like, well, just flinging bacon into the air does not mean that pig can fly. Like it just kind of it's that's kind of the logic here.
I now have images of pigs on trampolines.
Right.
Pigs are
Every scene, they're trying a different thing to make the pigs go. They're throwing them at trampolines. They're dropping them.
The wings.
The
rocks didn't actually move. It was an illusion.
Oh no! I think they did move. I think it's magic.
Okay.
It's magic.
Okay.
I think it is magic.
I thought I said something about Valerius said something about I can make it look like they move.
Well, I mean, it's not really clear, but
He said he knew mathematics. And that's all you need.
Yeah. It was,
mathematics.
Yeah. Okay, let's see where this goes. I just don't know where this is going at all. Act 2, Scene 4. I'm quite pleased with that. Drums and colours. Enter Martius, Valerius, captains and soldiers at one door, and Dorigen with ladies at another.
Hail, General of Rome, from Sophocles that honors Martius. Dorigen presents herself to be dishonored. Do thy will, for Sophocles commands me to obey. Come, violate all rules of holiness and rend the consecrated knot of love.
Never, Valerius, was I blessed till now. Behold the end of all my weary steps, the prize of all my battles. Leave us as quick as thought. Thus joy begins, and zealous love a minute's loss is sin.
And Martius be so vile? Or Dorigen?
Stay, and monster, keep thou further off. I thought thy brave soul would have much loathed to have gone on still on such terms as this. See, thou ungrateful, since thy desperate lust nothing can cure but death, I'll die for thee, whilst my chaste name lives to posterity.
Live, thou angel of thy sex! Forgive till by those golden tresses thou be snatched alive to heaven. Thy corruption so little that it cannot suffer death. Was ever such a woman? Oh, my mirror, how perfectly thou showst me all my faults, which now I hate. And when I next attempt thee, let all the fires in the zodiac drop on this cursed head.
All together now.
Oh, blessed event.
Oh, blessed event.
Rise like the sun again in all his glory after a dark eclipse.
Never without a pardon.
Enter Sophocles and 2 or 3 with him.
Sir, you have forgiven yourself.
Behold their impudence. Are my words just? Unthankful man, viper to arms and Rome, thy natural mother. Have I warmed thee here to corrode even my heart? Martius, prepare to kill me or be killed.
Why, Sophocles? Then prithee kill me, I deserve it highly. For I have both transgressed against men and gods, but am repentant now, and in best case to encase my soul of this oppressing flesh, which thou, God's witness, never was actually injurious to thy wife and thee, yet 'twas her goodness that restrained and held me now. But take my life, dear friend, for my intent, or else forgive it.
By the gods of Athens, these words are true and all direct again.
Pardon me, Dorigen.
Forgive me, Sophocles, and Dorigen too, and everyone that's good.
Rise, noble Roman, beloved Sophocles, take to thy breast thy friend.
And to thy heart thy matchless wife. Heaven has not stuff enough to make another such. For if it could, Martius would marry too. For thy blessed sake, oh, thou infinity of excellence, henceforth in men's discourse Rome shall not take the wall of Athens as tofore. But when in their fair honors we to speak do come, we'll say 'twas so in Athens and in Rome.
Exuent in pomp, Diana descends. I haven't actually given out a Diana, have I? So Emma, be on a Diana.
Honour, set ope thy gates, and with thee bring my servant and thy friend, fair Dorigen. Let her triumph, with her, her lord and friend, who, though misled, still honour was their end.
Flourish. Enter the show of honour's triumph. A great flourish of trumpets and drums within. Then enter a noise of trumpets sounding cheerfully. Then follows an armed knight bearing a crimson banneret in hand with the inscription Valor. By his side a lady bearing a watchet banneret and inscription Clemency. Next, Martius and Sophocles with coronets. Enter next two ladies, one bearing a white banneret, the inscription Chastity. The other in black, the inscription Constancy. Then Dorigen crowned. Last, a chariot drawn by two Moors. In it, a person crowned with a sceptre. On the top, in an antique scutcheon, is written Honour. As they pass over, Diana ascends. Okay, random bit of visual racism there. Stepping back from that for a moment. This particular play, it's called The Triumph of Honour. We mentioned masks earlier, but it's also doing the kind of civic pageantry job there at the end of visual displays with emblems that are displaying the themes of this triumph. And a triumph is a word that is used by individual pageants at Lord Mayor shows and similar. So this is sort of interesting in the way it's crossing over between different sort of theatrical genres. There's a bit of the mask in there. There's spectacle. There's pageantry. And yeah, following Lord Mayor shows, occasional casual racism. And yeah, we have the solution at the end, which is Dorigen just goes, "I'll kill myself if you do anything," and says, "Oh, all right, I won't do it then. Aren't you great?" And thus it ends, and thus honour, the honourable course of action, follows as the triumph. Honour triumphed. We're all good with the triumph there. It was triumphant. Thoughts from the room, Lynn?
Oh, this is an interesting version of the perennially returning theme of head of state as sexual predator, which goes back to like fairly early Elizabethan, one of the Edward plays, and it's a big deal in Jacobean tragedy. Women beware women, and the White Devil, and blah 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 blah. Revenger's tragedy, and usually in tragedy, of course, it ends badly. And even the Jane Shore narrative, even though the king isn't spun as a particularly evil person, just sort of unable to manage his own behavior. And this is a little bit different ending because it ends happily and with repentance and forgiveness. But I think it's interesting that in the usual head of state of sexual predator form, man's desire is treated as like a force of nature. Like it's just there. It's like, oh yeah, if you got raped by a duke, sometimes lightning hits people. Yeah, as if there were no sort of human will involved. And in this take, the woman has to be the one to take to be the moral center. The men are not expected to manage their desire. They really have to be persuaded that no, that's not happening. They can't do it on their own. So in a way, it's a different take on a sexual predator, and in a way, it's not.
Yes, it just in this instance, he was just she tries to kill herself first, and that's the solution. And as we know from some plays, that wouldn't even have been the solution. Aaron.
Yeah, I would say it's to follow on Lynn's point, it is espousing this social structure in which men are made stupid to go to war, and that is what they are good at. And when they come back, they need civilizing women. And it's delivering the moral that, look, when women stay chaste, everyone is better. Like it's being expressed like a social function. Like this is just the way things work. These are these are the checks and balances of
It's on you.
Goodness. So yeah, I definitely see that. The whole celebration at the end is, yay, we were all saved by her holding the line. And then everyone gets to, everyone is then made more honorable by this act. So.
Okay, well, we've had our audience responses, but of course, within the play, there are audience responses because there are people watching this play in the show. So we're going to go back to the framing device, Act 2, Scene 5, depending on how you want to label the scene. I should point out that the scene and acts, you can label these in quite different ways if you decide to. But as far as we're concerned for our reading, that's what we've got it labelled as. End of Act 2. We go back to the court, and of course, technically, they've all been on stage throughout. So remember that we have Rinaldo, Frigozo, Isabella, and Emanuel.
How like you it?
Really? So well, I would they would do it again. How many of our wives nowadays would deserve to triumph in such a chariot?
That's all one. You see, they triumph in carroaches.
That they do, by the mass, but not all neither. Many of them are content with carts. But, Signor, I have now found out a great absurdity in faith.
What was it?
The prologue presenting 4 triumphs made but 3 legs to the king. A 3-legged prologue, 'twas monstrous.
Oh, it had been more monstrous to have had a 4-legged one. Peace, the king speaks.
Here was a woman, Isabel.
Oh, Isabella is muted.
Ay, my lord, but that she told a lie to vex her husband, therein she failed.
She served him well enough. He that was so much man, yet would be cast to jealousy for her integrity. This teacher does. The passion of love can fight with soldiers, and with scholars too.
In Martius, clemency and valor shown, in the other, courage and humanity, and therefore in the triumph they were ushered by clemency and valor.
Rightly observed, as she by chastity and constancy. What's hurts now in a play, against which some rail so vehemently? Thou and I, my love, make excellent use, methinks. I learn to be a lawful lover, void of jealousy, and thou a constant wife. Sweet poetry's a flower, where men, like bees and spiders, may bear poison, or else sweets and wax away. Be venom-drawing spiders that they will, I'll be the bee, and suck the honey still.
And flourish once again. Cupid descends.
Stay, clouds. Stay, clouds. You rack too fast. Bright Phoebus see. Honor has triumphed with fair chastity. Give love now leave, and purity to show. Unchaste thy affections. Fly not from his bow. Produce the sweet example of your youth, whilst I provided triumph for your truth.
And flourish, and that leads us into the next one. It's both a sort of epilogue to the last play and moving on to the next one. Yes, so some interesting audience responses there. We've got the sort of lower end of the court going, well, how many wives do we know would deserve such a chariot, and then they sort of work down the social scale, boom, boom, and then we get the sort of more, shall we say, the official answer of, this is about teaching the couple to be good husbands and wives. So it's taught them now not to have affairs unless you're following the subplot, where having an affair doesn't seem to have any meaningful consequence. It's sort of like they're just pretending that plot line didn't exist in the play and was not actually technically resolved within the logic of it all. I, my lord, but that she told a lie to vex her husband. What was the lie?
Oh, she said, "Oh, I'm so glad that it's okay with you because I've already slept with it."
Ah, right. Yes, that was the lie. Okay, so it was a lie, and it wasn't. Yeah, that was the thing that was going on there. Okay, that is cool. She was clever. She had her head screwed on. That one. So yeah, and he's learning. And yeah, we were sort of talking about. People were bringing up this. Passion of love can fight with soldiers and with scholars too. It's this martial, but also other arts as well are in play. Okay. Any other thoughts about the closing commentary on on the action?
Thoughts on the thoughts.
Any thoughts on the thoughts before we move on to thoughts of our own? Eric.
It feels a bit like the Night of the Burning Pestle, that kind of thing, except like this doesn't have a grocer and his wife. It's more the sort of framing device of a wedding, and a royal wedding nonetheless, which is, I don't know, it's interesting, but also kind of, I don't know, maybe they're kind of in. I don't know what to think of it yet. I'm enjoying it.
I think
aside
the play,
from the weird commentary.
Yeah, the play within play is more like Johnson's Every Man Out of His Humour, in the sense that you've got a running. It's not a running commentary, but you have outside commentators watching the play who are within a framework. Whereas Night of the Burning Pestle is more about playing with meta theatricality in a much more overt way. And the prologue, it was three-legged prologue. It was all. Whereas the Reform part, all boom boom. There are some jokes being made about what they're being presented with, but it's not quite doing that same level of meta. Erin.
I think I might have gotten confused. We were talking earlier about where this would have been done, and I had assumed because they open with this idea of like, the highborn don't care if you try to hush them, the prologues are useless against them. I had been taking that as a sign that this is something that would be performed at court, but now I think I'm waking up to the idea that was them setting up the play within the play. That was them setting up like, let's all act like we're doing this at court for the sake of for the conceit of what's going on. So
Yes, so within the play world, they're at the court in this wedding that happened 116 years previously, but that doesn't mean it wasn't performed at court. I mean, I haven't checked the whether there's any Revels accounts whether this play ended up anywhere. So we don't know, but in theory, every public performance is a rehearsal for a potential performance at court, so that's always part of the conceit. So it may at one point have been performed at court, but probably only ever once if it was, whereas it would have been performed a number of times if it was performed as part of a repertoire for whichever theatre company it was, of which it is very unclear. Okay, final thoughts. We've got a framing device that's a bit weird, but I'm sort of going with it. I can imagine conjuring a wedding setting within the logic of a theatre. I think we can make that work. The individual plays have relatively small casts, I think, so that, even having characters who are constantly watching on stage, they don't seem to be interacting or playing any of the additional parts, though they might be made to do that. So this feels scalable to do it as it is writ. I kind of liked the play, but it is a short, slight piece, and it's still a question, actually, precisely how earnest and how silly it is supposed to be, because actually bits of it do. Stakes are not unimportant actually towards the end of the play, and if we can send it up, then those stakes don't quite work, and you might end up with problems. But there's definitely stuff for actors to do. I thought there was a lot of stuff that was very playable, even if some of it was a little. I think maybe some cuts and tweaks. I just think one of the big problems with this is just the audience sort of tuning into what this play is doing, because it's just such a weird universe, and then you get the triumphal performances at the end. We don't really have that kind of pageantry today. We don't have allegorical pageantry anymore. We may have pageantry, but we don't have, here is the demonstration. It doesn't quite, it's usually even more abstract and not fully laid out, and you have to listen to the commentary to understand what it's supposed to be representing. And then to do it all within one play is it is a bit odd. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. I think it would be an interesting one to try and sell and figure out what to do with it. But anyway, final thoughts around the room. Emma, any final thoughts on the play overall or the play within play?
I enjoyed it. It had a lot of twists and turns. I enjoyed reading the comedy section. There's some unusual and comical metaphors in there that we talked about earlier. No, I think the play seems to hark back to the morality plays, and it seems to, especially with this play within the play context where they kind of comment on the action, it invites the audience to think, what would I do in the situation? If I were Dorigen, what's the right thing to do? What is she going to do? It keeps you as quite an active audience, I think.
Olga, any final thoughts?
Oh dear, I honestly don't know what to think. It definitely doesn't appeal to me as a play that would make the audience think how they would behave in the situation. It strikes me more as a hyperbolized to the extent of being total satire. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. If I can relent to someone, it's my Frigozo, who the only thing he notices, oh no, there was 4 triumphs, and it's a 3-legged prologue. So that's somehow similar to my feeling. Oh no, something is wrong with this play. It doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy doing it. It's great fun, but it's all so exaggerated. It's just total bluff of a play, in my opinion.
Well, it's really. I'm sort of now trying to imagine what this individual play, how it would function if you just did it on its own, or maybe with just one other play without the framing device. What is this play doing if it's taken out of its marriage context, and maybe beefed up a bit? And maybe...
No, it's very specific in the marriage context, and it's and the fact, and actually framing device works the best for me, and the fact that we hear but at the end of it, we hear so very different reactions, beginning with Rinaldo and Frigozo, and then sort of explanation, straightforward. It means to mean this. I don't know. No one can say it with a straight face. So for an actor, it's the biggest challenge is to play it straight faced, well, because it actually is a huge exaggeration of everything, basically.
Eric, any final thoughts?
I just enjoyed the catapult bit. The sort of like, yes, these rocks can. If these rocks move, I'm not sleeping with you, but anyway, yeah. I like the concept, and also just the sort of comedy duo of Cornelius and Nicodemus. They were quite fun.
Yeah, I was disappointed that didn't really go anywhere. And it's like, that even because that was their, they had this final appearance, which was in the middle of another scene, felt like it. I mean, there might have been a bit more physical business that of them being got rid of, but it was like there was an interesting setup, and then it sort of doesn't go anywhere. In a sense, I kind of don't want them to come back on again because it's sort of a self-contained sketch, and it does actually work as a self-contained sketch. It's just the moment they come back on again, I feel like more should be happening with them, which is interesting. But I quite like to workshop that one separately. I think also just to mind some of the things it's doing because it's got a weird flow to its dialogue that I don't think is immediately easy to work with. Alan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I must admit the framing device is not novel. We've seen others of similar nature, and they also exist in other plays of the period. The comedy sketch with the lower caste characters works nicely, but I must admit I was struggling to derive any real sense or meaning from what is supposedly the main plot of the piece. Just didn't seem to go anywhere useful.
Well, I know. It has shape. I mean, it's stuff is going on. It has a moral dilemma. It's just it is a question of tone and how you pitch it, and can it be pitched in a more serious vein, and function that way. Because I think one of the problems with sending it up too far is that these things then fall apart into mush before you. It's always the danger with doing that. Aaron, any final thoughts?
The Cornelius and Nicodemus thing is jumping out at me. I took it as just a kind of what we're talking about. You can't let things get too far. I took the introduction of that as simply a way to frame what's going on for Dorigen, as not the most outlandish thing being suggested. Like it is an affront to her honor, and it is an issue of honor for her. But it establishes that in this world, stuff like this happens, and so it kind of helps to set the stakes and the level and frame, establish the world for that. I think it's hilarious as a piece itself. I actually think the satire hits at a good level. I think on the page there are things that seem very serious, but I think that's supposed to be the moment somebody kind of says the quiet part out loud, and lets the audience go, yes, we're setting these guys up to lampoon them, and obviously any sane person would not act like the people in this story. But I thought there was a lot of good stuff. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was very funny. I I do think this is the second play I've been part of a reading of where we've been left thinking, is there an extended universe somewhere where these people, these comedic bits are like coming in and doing a preview for the next show? Like it seems like people are being thrown in that the audience would know, but that we don't know the ongoing saga of.
Lynn, any final thoughts?
Well, I'm still a little unsure about the tone. If the marriage in the frame story, Emanuel and Isabella, that historical marriage, had been a kind of famous failure, then you're like, oh yeah, we're mocking all of that. But I managed to track it down, and Isabella was I think the oldest child of Ferdinand Castile and Isabella of Aragon, of sponsoring Columbus fame. And even though it was an arranged marriage, she and her husband Alfonso in real life actually were very happy together. So it was actually a very successful marriage. And unfortunately, he died fairly young. So we know the historical people that the frame characters are based on actually had a successful marriage. So it sort of undermines the claim that, oh, it's all just mocking these conventions and mocking the possibility of chastity. And it's such an odd little duck. It's like structurally so different from what we're used to seeing. I just don't, I have one sort of weird idea. You know, the pageantry. We don't do pageantry. We don't do allegory. Maybe instead of like having people come on, you play a video. It's like, let's just modernize that. Let's just like they all watch a video about like an MTV video where people dance and get our point across that way. That's how we do metaphor these days.
Yeah. I'm just on point about this being unusual. Of course, compilation plays, portmanteau plays like this, do exist. There were more. We just don't have them anymore. And it is indeed possible, for example, that Yorkshire Tragedy is part of a similar bill of fare,
Right, 'cause it's like
and that
right?
that's the only bit that got printed. And there are a few other short plays where maybe it's part of that logic that and the number of plays that each bill would put in place would vary. So 2 plays in 1, 3, 4, 5, depending on what the play was doing. So this isn't as unusual then as it seems to us now. I think also with portmanteau things today that they tend to stick within one genre with slight tonal shifts rather than necessarily dance between genres, which is potentially what this is going to be doing. We shall see. Mark, any final thoughts?
Yeah, it feels a little strange from, what we're used to reading plays from this time, to have something that, the whole narrative is just in one act, which I do think makes it feel at least like it would be hard to get to like do this as like a super like straight, like kind of emotionally genuine sequence of events. But I do think it's interesting because it, like any shorter piece of work, it allows you to really drill into this one thing instead of like we've got these 5 different plots that all need to come together at the end. So yeah, I think it'd be interesting to try to make it work. The play within the play, Act 2, on its own without the frame. Personally, that's probably what I would try. And or just using the comedic side plot. And I think that would be an interesting thing to find another place for in another play or something. I'm curious how removable it would be from the Roman period, to have them not be Romans, and to kind of be more, placeable in some other time or place from some other place setting. But also, it'd be kind of funny to throw it into some Roman history, just to have this kind of comedic, like completely different tone, which to a certain extent I think it's operating within this, in that same way. But yeah, make some small tweaks to make it, work in some other Roman piece. I think would be a fun way to play with it.
Yeah, because partly the setting and partly the context where it is within the play. I'm not so sure actually that the A plot is aiming for comedy. I think it's aiming for heightened, and it's compacting a lot in, and it may be coming across to us that today. But I don't know that there's intent there because it's not pushing the bounds too far in terms of what individual characters are doing. It's not like you've got Martius flinging himself over, and flinging. He would probably try and, the conflict with his brother would be more sustained and would do something more comedic if it was aiming in that direction. I think it is that problem of heightened performance style, when today we're much more used to naturalism, and therefore everything drifts towards irony, which is always sort of the death to this kind of drama. I could be wrong. Alan?
I must admit, I'm not sure there is any necessary Roman connection with the last characters, because they struck me that they could have walked straight in from a production of the famous victories of Henry V.
Oh yeah, but
or a number of other pieces that we've done.
Yeah, but clowns often don't exist within the universe. They're always set in the now, in that sort of logic. And the way they were speaking also sounded very much trying to be mirroring the language of the then thou, as it were. Eric, were you waving?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of like in I don't know, it just reminds me a bit of like in a circus act where you've got sort of like, well, you don't have a plot, but you've got the lions, tigers, you've got the lion tamers, so on and so forth. But then you've also got the clowns who chase each other around, or like Charlie Chaplin movies where you've got a main plot and then you've got sort of the slapstick and sort of people physical comedy stuff, running around doing stuff in the background, which could also work. I mean, it's like a subplot that kind of reflects it, but not really because they actually I mean, it's a different take on cheating, I guess.
Any more for any more before I close the session? Well, that looks like that's it for the first story of 4 plays in 1. What will the next play give us? Well, it's the Triumph of Love. So maybe it'll be a very different. I mean, the last one wasn't really a triumph. I think, yeah, it's playing the themes of honour. That seems reasonable. We shall see. Anyway, what Cupid will bring us next time. You can't join us next time because this was recorded in the distant past. But you could join us in the future if you want to sign up and join these wonderful volunteers. They just come in, they do a sign-up form, and then we assign parts. That's literally it. That's the system. Come and join us on Zoom one day, and then you too will eventually, after a massive delay, end up on the actual YouTube channel. So go to our website, beyondshakespeare.org, go to our Get Involved page, and sign up for a future session. There's always a small percentage possibility that a percentage of us may not have made it between now and then. So you might meet us, or you might meet somebody else. It's always possible. Who knows? All that remains to thank all the wonderful readers who are here at this particular actual moment for their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye, ye fish-faced rascals.